So, I'm Brent Snorf, the. Whenever you tag me on Discord or Twitter and you're like, hey, are you youtube.com/BrentSnorf? That's me. Who's
And
you?
I'm Olivia, also kind of known as Liv Snorf around here. I
Hmm.
don't do anything.
Yeah. We have a cellar, we lock you in, and then we pull you out every other week. Um,
Yeah.
so last time we talked about, well, we predicted for the movie. Now the movie's come out and we watched it as a group um, with our awesome costumes. Um,
Yes.
Now, I had two exams today, so I didn't prepare anything. You did. So I'll let you begin with whatever.
Well, I figured first we could talk about how right were we? What were we cooking with our predictions? And I mean, I would say that we were cooking a little
We,
bit.
I think I don't remember everything we said, but one thing I distinctly remember we're getting wrong is you're like, oh, the Springlock scene will be in there, but they won't show anything.
Yeah,
Um,
they really showed it. They zoomed in on there.
yeah, I was really, though, ironically, the things we said they would show, they didn't, and that there was no blood really. I think that's kind of the
Yeah.
compromise they had to make to keep it PG
Well, it's like they
13.
had things that were quite violent, but there wasn't really any blood. I mean, I guess the goriest thing we saw was that we actually did end up seeing that guy after his face got mashed by the cupcake.
Did you see the behind the scenes photo of like the makeup? It's
No.
like undarkened. It's disturbing. Like the
Oh
cupcake
man.
really messed that guy up.
Well, from what I can remember from like the brief moment that we did see it, it was like it was just kind he was there wasn't really anything left there.
It really wasn't. I I'm pretty sure the code name for the FNaF movie was Bad Cupcake.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it now.
Yeah, yeah, that thing is a little bit crazy.
Well, actually, we're gonna take a detour from your topic because I quickly want to ask you, what do you think the cupcake is? Like possessed by anything or
I mean, like I feel like while watching the movie I was like, oh, it's probably kind of like this one spirit kind of got two things because the cupcake is kind of part of Chica, but also they kind of made it like they're a tag team.
yeah.
Like they're two separate things, which it was kind of like that in FNAF 4.
Yeah.
Um, but most of the time it's like they're this they're the same. Cause I kind of just thought it was like the one child. I think it would be weird if there was like a big reveal where it's like there's a sixth child and it possesses the cupcake.
Well, well, I think the same thing, but specifically, and this is kind of Freud stuff, but I think Chica is Susie's ego, and the cupcake is her id.
Actually, that's like so real.
Because if
Like,
you notice in the movie, Chica, the most violent thing Chica does is she tries to put Abby in the suit,
mm-hmm,
but that is a case of the animatronics don't see that as like hurting them, but like
mm-hmm,
making them one of them.
yeah,
While all the other guys like go whole hog and murdering people.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. That's just an idea I had.
There was a lot of implied violence. Now that I think about it, that was something we were kind of right about. Like Bonnie, like you didn't see Bonnie like killing that guy, but man, it sounded pretty bad.
I just want because we see how Freddy killed. Uh, I don't remember
Yeah,
what her.
Max.
Yeah, Max. Yeah, that was.
That was crazy. That was like I was like
I
very
genuinely
strong.
think she'll come back as Shadow Freddy.
Well, that was the one they specifically showed. Like she was stuffed in the suit.
Yeah, but also like not only was she in the Shadow Freddy suit, but also um they showed her dying like in a silhouette, you know? So there's
Oh
some
yeah,
symbolism there.
in the shadows.
Um but yeah, anyway, so Freddy bites, Foxy uses his hook, Chica uses the cupcake who also bites. What does Bonnie do?
It sounded like Bonnie was like just kind of like I don't know. Like he was like turning that guy into like puree. Like he was like he was like mushing that guy.
Yeah, because all we do see is like from the perspective of the door and like the bloody hand on the window. But I guess if you look at Bonnie, he is just kind of like holding his hand up against the guy. Maybe he really is just like crushing the skull. Did we see his body? No, because it had the Sparky mask on him when they showed the bodies later on.
Yeah, cuz like Max was in Freddy. Then that one, the Freddy or the Bonnie guy was like in Sparky. And then the cupcake guy
It was just on
was
the
kind of
floor.
just on the floor, which I thought was kind of funny. They like, I guess they ran out of animatronic suits. And then it was the brother, like the brother
The
of
brother
Max.
was laid up against the endoskeleton.
Okay. Because they didn't show it for very long. I think they probably weren't able to put too much focus on it because it's pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, yeah, but I think Bonnie literally just like beat that guy up.
Yeah, throwing hands in there. Well, that would be a funny reference too. I feel like it's a common thing in fan games, or maybe it's just Joy of Creation, where in Bonnie's jump scare, he just like punches you in the face.
Yeah, he really does just just punch you in joy of creation.
That doesn't help the misinfo going around right now that the way the animatronics act shows like how the victims died, and everyone's like, "Oh, the kid who possesses Bonnie was just throwing hands." I'm like, we don't really know that. I don't know where that came from, but
I mean, I guess like a little bit. Like you could say like maybe the Foxy kid was stabbed.
well, it's
The
specifically Foxy was trying to run away. Chica was.
Oh, okay.
That's honestly the only one I remember besides Bonnie trying to beat the guy up, but we
Well,
don't
yeah,
know that.
Chica, I mean that one would be kind of far-fetched, being like he sent a little creature after her.
Little creature. What was your question to begin? Whoa, how right were we?
Yeah, oh, part of that. I we were wrong about the secret character pretty much. It was I think they were referring to Sparky
I think it
in
was Balloon
hindsight.
Boy actually. Like I know I said, oh, it's not Balloon Boy, but
No,
like
Balloon Boy was in a trailer, I think.
like a poster of Balloon Boy was. So
Yeah.
I don't know, because it could have been Shadow Freddy. Honestly, it could have been. I think it was Shadow Freddy because Sparky is like a fan made character.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Like I don't know if they'd hype it up that much just for a reference, but
Though
I
maybe
don't
they're
know.
also talking about the Ella suit.
Yeah, that's something that well, I can't even find any pictures of it online. Like I keep trying to look at it so I can kind of try to figure out what the meaning of that is, but I can't find
Yeah.
anything still.
All that suit is it's a at least like from the face and the hat.
Hmm.
It's a character from the books named Ella. Well, in the book
Yeah,
she's
it
just a
does look
doll, but
like that.
yeah. Though I
Well,
remember,
the thing is, there's got to be some significance of it. Like they wouldn't just be like, "Oh, we're just gonna put in a random reference to the books." Like, because originally it was just like showing how the spring locks work, but then it's like, oh, they're gonna put Abby in this suit.
and that's another that would have been a great chance for them to put the Night 4 sister location Springlock suit. But they chose Ella, a character who's not normally a Springlock suit. And in the video I did, I said the significance was Ella was one of the forms of Charlie. And if that was
Mhm.
Abby's suit, that might connect back to Henry. I don't know though. It's not a
I
flawless
think it's
theory.
probably gonna be like I think it's gonna come back in the second movie, and we're gonna kind of figure out because I think it might be like I think you're right. I think it is like meant to be kind of like almost like a stand-in, like a representation of something else.
Mhm. Um, yeah, but when I saw the, because I'm a person who, I was pretty much the only person in our group who would have recognized it as Ella. Um, I remember some of you thought it was supposed to be Baby, and I was agreeing for a little bit. But when I saw it and show up in the movie, like I wasn't scared by the movie, but for whatever reason, when that suit came on screen, there's a little bit of like weird dissonance in my head of like, whatever this thing is, I should not be looking at it.
I
Because
think it's because like it's not something we're as familiar with.
like I think it's that like I knew it was a like subconsciously it was a character that I know, but I couldn't figure out who it was, so something just felt wrong about it. But yeah, that thing is creepy as
Yeah,
ugh.
that thing was like actually kind of spooky.
Um, which speaking of the Springlock suits, this isn't even something I consider. I Because when we were talking about the Springlock failure scene, I thought Springlocks in the movie just we weren't gonna show them just how they work. Leave it up to your own. But they actually showed what the hell a Springlock actually looks like.
So they like zoomed in and they were like, take a look. You can watch it stab him now.
Because a lot of fans have had interpretations for years, and they've never really made a lot of sense to me. But now that they've shown them it makes a lot of sense. It's pretty much
Yeah,
exactly what Phone Guy says in 3 of.
yeah.
It's it's parts of the endoskeleton that get pressed up against the side of the suit.
Hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Which so they said the movie was for fans, and it was. And I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like that was a little bit of an arbitrary decision because I feel like to make it for a general audience, they would have had to all they would have had to do is explain things a little better.
Yeah, I think that kind of though what they meant by that was like they were gonna have a lot of references and cameos. Like I
Mhm.
think that that was more like what they were talking about when they said it was for the fans. Because if it was just for a general audience, they wouldn't feel the need to include any of that really.
Yeah, probably right. I don't know. I was just because I watched the movie a second time and I realized in the back room when Vanessa's like talking about the spring lock suits, she never explains why the spring locks are there.
Yeah. She's just like, those are spring locks and they're dangerous.
So I can't see how that would make someone who doesn't know a lot about the lore be like, why the hell would you have those? But
Yeah.
like, especially when they come back later on and someone is wearing a suit with those things in it, because what they're probably thinking is, one, why would you have those dangerous components in an animatronic? Two, why would you wear a suit with those components in it? But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I I see the problems with the movie, but that does not ruin my enjoyment of it. I think it was exactly what I wanted.
Hmm. I already knew that it was gonna be good just because like the opening credits, I really liked how they did that. Like with like it was like the mini game style,
Mhm.
like kind of showing what
And
happened.
the music.
The music was very good. I was like, nice.
I don't
This
know.
is good.
like the opening scene where you see the security guard like trying to open the vent and like the animatronics. That was a super strong opening. And then they
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
well, this kind of leads into something else, but one of the things I was thinking of is how different would it have been if not only that scene happened, but also if Markiplier actually was playing that role. Like, that would be crazy. Like, I feel like I wouldn't have even, I don't even know if I would have been able to pay attention because
So
I would have been like,
I said last time that if they made it too obvious it was Matt Pat when he showed up, it would take me out of it. I was kind of wrong about that because he did say it's just a theory, but I was able to get back into it like pretty
yeah.
quickly.
Well, they were like pushing him away, so you kind of got to push him away too.
Um, but I don't know. I would love for Markiplier to have like a slightly longer role like that in a movie. I just don't think it should be the first scene because that's kind of a weird. I wouldn't say bad first impression, but it's a weird first impression to start on a
Yeah.
cameo. Um, but I don't know. If you watch how the security guard acts, like how he screams and stuff, I was like, yeah, this role is made for Mark now that I think about it. But
Yeah. Well, I can just like I can see it. Like I can envision it so clearly.
and what was weird about that performance is, although it's a little silly the way he like screams and stuff, I was genuinely feeling kind of bad for the guy. Like I
I
think
know
it was well
he did
done.
a really good job of looking like really terrified, and I was like, "Oh, this poor guy."
Well, one terrified, two confused because
Yeah,
like the dude probably was just taking this job because he had to. Didn't
yeah,
realize
because
the
he was like
robots were
kind
gonna.
of a little bit older. I was like, "Oh,
Oh, speaking of older people, making you be like, oh, Doug.
Doug." Oh my God.
Oh,
I looked up the actor, and it's just like they could not have picked a more perfect man to play that role.
he he's gone on TikTok recently. And I don't know how he's getting away with this because of the strike, but he has been on TikTok, and he's being like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here at all. It's funny. It's endearing. Um,
Oh,
but yeah, they. I think JR said this when we left, but that man was a prop. But
I don't. I feel like it seems like he had fun with it though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he did it like his character had one job, and he did that job super well, and that job was look uncomfortable in every single scene, except except
Well,
when Matt Pat's there.
because the thing is, I was thinking about because Matt Pat said that scene took 8 hours to film. That guy literally just had to sit there like that for 8 hours.
Duh.
Like he just that's like literally all he got to do.
Well, like I think the diner scene sticks out more because he actually talks then. But the first scene with Doug is so good because um it's just the ant getting on her soapbox, and then I think it pans over to Mike with like a uh I don't care look on his face, and then it pans over to Doug and he's just sitting there like
Yeah,
live Doug reaction. I hope they bring him back, but I hope they
me
don't
too.
like overdo
Maybe
it.
he'll be back like well, because Aunt Jane is dead. So is she dead? To be honest,
I
like,
thought she was dead. Emma
because she was
Tammy
on the
has said
ground, like,
Emma Tammy has said that it's an open end. So
okay. Well, because that kind of brings me to another point, which is like, this is okay. This is something that happens in a lot of horror movies. So it's like, it's not just FNaF, and this is something. that people are like, oh, it's a plot hole in this horror movie, and it's like nobody. It's like it's like people are like in real life, the police would be like, why are so many people dying here? We have to do something. Like what? Like we have to launch an investigation, and it's like, okay, that's like great and all, but like, wouldn't a horror movie be so boring if like if there was constantly like an investigation going on, unless that's like a big part of
I
like
think that only
what's going on.
works if like it's it's like a detective horror film where like
Yeah.
the main character is an investigator. But
Yeah,
um
well, because people like my dad doesn't know anything about FNaF, and he saw the movie, and he was asking me about things, and he was like, well, the aunt was like killed, and nobody seemed to care, and I was like, well, also though, like nobody likes her, so it's like, you
um
know,
I think
but
it's
that makes me
just
think she isn't dead.
because early on in the movie, Abby says something like she smells like cigarettes. And I think it's
Hmm.
very likely she might just normally drink. That's kind of a weird assumption to make,
Well,
but
it
I'm
seems like
just
they don't have much family, so there's
yeah.
not really anybody who would be that concerned.
So I assume because like in the theater it's like oh she's dead, but now I especially after Emma Tammy said it's an open end. I think Golden Freddy just knocked her out, and no one batted
Yeah.
an eye because maybe she just normally passes out drunk on the weekends or something. Um,
Yeah, 'cause like that's like in their house. So
yeah,
that's like, you know, that you kind of would have to come back to that if your aunt is dead in your house.
and I will say even as a fan, that kind of whole scene was the one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, specifically in how Golden Freddy was handled. Because in the theater, it's like, oh, that's Golden Freddy, but
Yeah.
I've been talking to other people here. Um, well, one I rewatched the movie on Peacock with some friends last week, and I was talking to some other people who saw it but don't know a lot about FNAF. A lot of people think that that was just supposed to be Freddy.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those things that felt like a little bit arbitrarily underexplained. Because I think Golden Freddy should kind of be like an enigma character. Like we don't know. Like it's just one of those things that makes you like, oh, that was weird. The problem is he wasn't golden enough. He was
Yeah.
very Freddy colored, and like they did have like the blue eye.
Hmm.
But I think what they should have done instead is go like whole hog with the FNAF 2 design. Because what they did is they made it the FNAF 1 design with the FNAF 2 detailings, like the missing ear and the. But I think they should have just made it like incredibly distinct. Now, some pranksters in the community, and by pranksters I mean people being totally serious, are like, you guys are stupid for not knowing that was Golden Freddy. He literally says, not Freddy. And to be fair, he does say that. When Abby's like, Freddy? He's like, not Freddy. But I feel like that's an easy thing to misinterpret as like
Yeah.
that ghost doesn't associate with his character,
Yeah. Like I'm not Freddy, I'm whatever this kid's name is. And
but
also, this is like the thing that I have the most beef with. I know they made like Golden Freddy, they made the kid dye his hair blonde and stuff. But why'd they make him wear a brown shirt and they made Freddy Kid wear a yellow shirt? Because for literally the entire movie, I thought that like, and I know like I know about this game. I thought that the Freddy Kid was supposed to be the Golden Freddy Kid, and they were for some reason having the Freddy Kid be the ringleader of all this. And now that I know that it's Golden Freddy, it makes more sense. But it's like I because they also gave him a little yellow hat. And it's like, well, how that's that doesn't make sense.
I do like the kind of thing they did with the like ghost props where like they're made out of paper, like kids made them. I I guess there just should have been more alluding to Golden Freddy before he showed up. Like maybe in the back room, there was just a yellow Freddy suit sitting there that Mike investigates. Um, but inexplicably like recoils, like he feels something's wrong about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know, because Golden Freddy as like the animatronic isn't that important in the movie, but eh. And that's another thing that was, or maybe not. I don't know. I feel like the ghosts being represented as the kids versus the animatronics was a little bit inconsistent. Like not detrimentally
Yeah.
so, but like what they did get consistent is in the dream world, they were always the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part in the real world, they were the animatronics. Except for Golden Freddy, which, okay, Golden Freddy's a little different. But I think this is where they really messed up. The only other kid who shows up in ghost form is the Freddy kid.
That's the Foxy. They have the Foxy kid,
Oh, I take it back. You made
but it's like very brief.
you reminded
But
me
they
of
don't
that
do that for
scene.
all the kids.
That is the most fire scene in the entire movie,
Which one?
where the Foxy kid
Oh, he's like
uh
in like
he walks
the
out of
thing.
Pirate's Cove and looks at Abby, and then like he backs up, and then Foxy comes out.
Yeah.
When I
Well,
saw,
cause yeah, because like it like would make more sense if they did that for all the kids. Cause the one time where it's like that makes sense is like at the end, like at the very very end. I think it's a post credit scene. I can't even remember if it was after the credits or not. But like when they have Afton in the back room, and then the Golden Freddy kid shows up to close the door on him. It's like he. It seems like he actually can see the kid now because like he's kind of like entering a new state of like being like he's no longer mortal really, so it's like he's kind of passed into that supernatural state where you can see the kid. But I wish they'd done it with all the kids because I feel like if you don't know the story you might be kind of confused.
I think they in the scene where Abby first runs out and meets the animatronics, they should have had a scene from her perspective where like the kids are standing next to the respective animatronic, and they should have made sure that the Golden Freddy kid was incredibly distinct from all of them. But yeah, but I think talking about William Afton, I think that is kind of represented well with like not just that scene, but also the Spring Bonnie design or Yellow Rabbit. I really like that they just call him Yellow Rabbit in the movie because that's a lot more
Mhm.
ominous. But
Yeah.
anyways, um, because in some shots they only show like the good side of the suit, and then other times you see the full thing. And I
Hmm.
think that was really well done. Plot aside, the cinematography in the movie is really, really good, especially in those later scenes with William. They use the lighting in the pizzeria really well, where like when he first steps out, he steps into purple light, and then that purple switches to green. So William to Springtrap.
Hmm.
Um,
I Man, there's so many things that we can talk about for this. Well, if there's well, I guess there is another thing that was a little confusing for me was the like the Freddy death mask. Like like Afton was like kind of dramatic for that. Like he could have just killed them, but for some of them he's like I'm gonna I think that's supposed to be the representation of being stuffed in a suit, but it's like in the like because it's all scary in the trailers and stuff, but then it's like ultimately it's like what's the point of that? Like he could just kill them, but instead he's like I'm gonna like grind your face up.
I think my interpretation is that's nothing further than like Williams just kind of messed up and he likes playing with people before killing them. And I think the way they would could have illustrated that better is when when Mike escapes from it, they could have done like a zoom out where you just kind of see like the hand of Spring Bonnie on a desk, kind of watching it happen on a monitor to kind of
Mm-hmm.
illustrate, oh, he's watching all of this. Um,
Yeah, because we really never see him, but it's like I guess it's kind of implied that he's at the pizzeria during a lot of these instances.
like he was obviously watching on the account that he shows up when things, but like if he wasn't watching, he would have assumed, oh, Mike's dead now, but he would have saw Mike at a. I saw I saw a funny thing people pointed out. The entranceway he steps out of in that scene when he first appears in the suit is the entranceway. So
Oh,
did he drive all the way there in the costume?
no, he took the taxi.
Uh, poor Corey.
Yeah, he's just getting all of the animatronics in there.
But yeah, I don't know. I that is just how. Well, I would have done a few things. I would have name dropped William Afton earlier in the movie, like when the training lady's like talking about the pizzeria. She just says like, "Our founder loves family fun and animatronics," but she should have like slipped his name in there
Mm-hmm.
because that would have been another easy fix for like help other people understand the story better.
Yeah. But
Um,
for us, the reveal of him from Vanessa was pretty good.
yeah, the theater.
Yeah, when she said William Afton, it was like
That
he's
movie
here.
taught me you can still get excited about things that you already know.
Yes, like when she was building up to the fact that like the kids got stuffed in the suit. I've already known that for so long, but I was like, "Oh, this
And
is crazy."
I think the way she said it kind of sent a chill down my spine because she puts it in the context of like who would be messed up enough to put them in there. And because of that, of course, they were never found. No one would think someone would, oh, yeah, I'm going to shove these kids into these robots. Um, but I don't know. There are a few moments like that in the movie where they show us something we already know about, but it like, you know,
Yeah. I did not expect them to make Vanessa an Afton. But
I
I'm interested to see where they'll go with that. Like if they're gonna have her wake up or if she's gonna die. Like if she's gonna stay in this coma.
I don't really know, but it did catch me off guard too. And the reason why is because so in Security Breach, or rather in the AR game, and one of the leaked email because the game would like send in-app emails that were like lore that was like from Fazbear Entertainment, and in one of them that was leaked, um, it says, well, it shows that Vanessa's last name starts with an A.
Hmm.
So of course people are like, oh, Vanessa Afton, and I've always been iffy on that on the account that I was assuming if her last name was Afton, she was just taking on that name because of glitch trap in her brain. And also in Security Breach, there's therapy tapes, and in them she says she had a father named Bill William, uh,
Hmm.
and uh, he made her testify in court against her mom in like the divorce.
Hmm. That is quite a bit of I mean, I know sometimes there really are just coincidences, but I didn't know about those because I don't know a lot about the latest lore.
Mhm.
But like that is quite a bit of stuff, especially because like people were like, guys, she has green eyes, and only Aftons have green eyes.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that until the moment we were watching the movie. She says she's an Afton, and that reminded me we now know that Glitch Trap isn't even William to begin with. It's the mimic. But um yeah, it is one of those things that's weird because we also know from those emails that Vanessa is in her 20s and Security Breach takes place in like the 2030s or something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know when it takes place, but it has to be after 2023, like a good amount of time after that. Um, so that would mean that the Follow Me mini games in 3 don't take place until like the 2010s, and sometime in that time, William would have had to settle down with another person and had another kid, or maybe miss after. I don't know. It's confusing. We're talking about the game lore. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be
No.
talking about the movie lore. Um, which the
Well, they've
movie,
gotta tell us more.
yeah, and there is also the case of like, as you said last time, like we don't have to assume everything in the movies and the games is 1-to-1. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe Vanessa just isn't an Afton in the games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe movie Vanessa technically came first, and then Scott was like, "Hey, I want to put this character in the game somewhere." I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Um,
Well, like, cause we know we don't know a lot about her childhood, but it sounds like he kind of like enlisted her help a little bit in these murders. Um, at the very least, he definitely messed her up. Like he definitely involved her somehow. Um,
and this may be going out on a limb, but given how much she knows about what happened to the kids in the MCI, she might have been an accomplice of some kind where like,
well, yeah, I think he tried to get her to like so that the kids would trust him because she'd be like, "Hey, like come over here."
well, I specifically think, because we see in the intro kind of how this version of William learned the kids. Um, really, most of them, he just like gives them something and then they follow him. I think
Mm-hmm.
more specifically, she might have been forced to help him stuff the bodies into the animatronics,
Mm.
which is
Well,
disturbing.
yeah, well, and then later, I thought that she hadn't seen him in a long time. I mean, I need to watch the scene again, but like he says like like I told you to keep them in the dark and kill them if they got too close. And I was like, "Oh, like have are they still like interacting?" Cuz I think that there's a lot of stuff that's like we don't know a lot about that we'll probably learn later, but it's kind of like like what is she doing? Cuz she's a police officer. And I mean, obviously people are very complex because you'd be like, well, why would she still love this place? Why would she still come back? Why wouldn't she be, tougher on Mike to not be here? Um, but it's also like she does not have a normal perception of the world.
Mhm.
Um,
I
and
think
it,
people are a little bit too critical of Vanessa's actions. Because when
yeah,
you
I
take
mean,
it of
she's not traumatized.
yeah, take it
So,
from the perspective of someone who's severely traumatized, it just kind of makes more sense.
mm-hmm,
Um, like one of the things is like, why would she let Abby build the fort with the animatronics, and then 5 minutes later be like, "Don't bring her back here."
mm-hmm,
And the I I at least what I think is she just wasn't trying to make Abby feel like unsafe because she didn't
mm-hmm,
really have a choice to be there or not. She just kind of had to be there. It was really on Mike whether or not she came. And Vanessa just wanted to make her feel safer if, because like if she was a little bit too hesitant about it, that might have frightened Abby of going there. Um, I don't know.
I think she probably also, like, since she didn't have much of a childhood, she, like I think she probably just wants children to have still be able to have a good association with this place and to be able to love these characters in this place as much as she did. And then she's like, "Okay, like, you know, like we had our fun, but like it's dangerous. Like we this can't happen again."
Yeah, my only real problem with Vanessa isn't about her character, but more so how she's used early on, where she's basically just exposition. And I'm very much a like, why tell us these things when you could show us? And case in point with that is there's a cut scene in the movie that's been shown. Well, like not the full scene, but people have. I don't remember where they saw it, but there was going like Mike was going to look up on a laptop like stuff about the MCI, and he was going to find a news broadcast of the incident. And I think that would have been a better way to explain like what happened at Freddy's other than Vanessa just telling him.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was still an 8 out of 10 movie, but I do think it had a lot of problems with like telling us things when it could be showing us things. Like later on in the movie, after Mike escapes from the pizzeria, and then Vanessa's like, "Oh, I found you," like this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't it have just showed Vanessa like coming across his body or something?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but
I think that like based on just the years of confusion with the games, I feel like they were afraid to leave some things like just to be implied. Because like they really wanted, I think there were some things they wanted to make it really clear what their intention was, so that people wouldn't so there wouldn't be another situation of it being like, this is way too confusing, we don't know what's going on.
yeah,
But I agree, like I wish they had, shown more. But maybe they'll improve upon that in the future.
I mean, yeah, Scott made a Reddit post about like his adventures going to the theater and like blending in with the crowd. And he did say at the end that like he's happy everyone had fun, but he's paying attention to like the criticisms people had.
Mm-hmm.
Um but what was I going to say? I was gonna say something, but now I don't. Oh yeah. Um Something's up with that Golden Freddy kid. And what I mean
Yeah.
specifically is well, Golden Freddy's always weird. But so that scene, and on the second time I was watching the movie, I noticed the second scene where, or I guess it would be the third time someone tries to escape from Foxy by going through that door, which is with Mike. That's the only time the door like actually opens. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, you don't hear anything break or anything. The door just kind of like pulls itself open.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I feel like one of the ghosts, most likely the Golden Freddy kid, unlocked the door for him
Mm-hmm.
for some reason. Which is weird because he's the one who wanted to take Abby to begin with. I don't know. He's kind of a weird force because it's also kind of implied early on in the movie that, unlike the other four kids, he actually knew all along that the yellow rabbit killed them. Like he draws it in the dirt when Mike asks who killed them or who killed Garrett. So I don't know. I don't know what's up with him, but he gives me bad vibes. Um,
Well, something that I noticed when we saw it is like he's the only kid that like caused violence knowingly without the influence really of Afton, because like he goes to the Schmidt's house and he like, knocks out the aunt, and then he's like, "Oh, she's just sleeping." And like for all the other kids, it's like all of the stuff that they did was under Afton's control, but it seemed like he just kind of did that because he wanted to.
Well, from the beginning of the movie, it's kind of implied that for whatever reason, the Golden Freddy kid is just friends with Abby. Like,
Mhm.
early on in the movie, she's like, "You're sitting on my friend." And then when he shows up later in the movie, she doesn't bat an eye, probably because she is her imaginary friend. The
Hmm.
why is weird. I don't really get why, but
Maybe there's gonna be some connection because of Garrett.
maybe it's going to be some crazy Attack on Titan shit where like Golden Freddy kid sees the past and the future at the same time. And he's like, I knew you were going to be the night guard. I knew you were going to be the one to kill this guy. So I'm friends with your sister now. I don't know. Golden Freddy's weird. And I think the
Yeah,
movie illustrated that really well.
yeah. Well, I think they're definitely like setting up like, hey guys, this is the vengeful spirit. And I feel like they're gonna make it that he was the first kid instead of the Chica kid.
Well, I don't know. Because it really depends on how much we can trust the opening animation. But I think it's actually the Foxy kid that goes first.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. I
and
don't
then
know.
Golden Freddy is second to last. So I don't know if that's about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the
There's
order just doesn't have any significance.
Yeah, I feel like the only one that matters is like who's first, just because like I feel like they'd be like, "Oh, he's the first, so he's like the most angry about it."
I think I saw someone point out that after the Golden Freddy kid is taken in the animation, you can notice in the background the arcade machines are starting to like go crazy. Like there's a
Mm,
claw machine that's just kind of going all over the place. Um, and also like for each kid that he kills, I think his the eyebrows become more pronounced on the Spring Bonnie suit. I don't know.
mm,
It's weird. I don't know if that's important or just an interesting detail, but um,
I don't know.
but so kind of circling back, Sparky did not see that coming.
Yeah, I liked that they brought back a lot of really, really old references. Like that's like the first like FNaF conspiracy, I feel like. Like
Yeah,
the one where it's kind of like Herobrine.
yeah.
Like I feel like I think it's really cool that they even thought to do that.
Well, first it's because like the diner map Pat works out is Sparky's diner, so it's like, oh, that's a
Mhm.
cool reference to Sparky. And then later in the movie, they just show a dog animatronic, and it's like, oh,
That just that just made me think of something. Like, do you think do you think that like that's a coincidence, or do you think they're gonna like do something crazy and be like, Sparky's Diner is owned by Fazbear Entertainment? Like that like could be so stupid,
I
but
mean,
also who even knows?
they could do that. I just don't see what the significance of it would be.
Yeah, there wouldn't be. But they do have to. I feel like for the second movie, they do have to find a way to bring in a second restaurant because I think there's gonna be a lot of parallels to FNAF 2. It's like there's another restaurant like kind of built on the bones of the first one, and uh, they could do a second MCI and be like, why are all these kids dying? And it's like, oh, Afton came back again, but I don't know. Like I'm really curious to see where they go because he did say that like Scott Cawthon said that he wanted it to be like the second and third games, but that's kind of
It's
off topic, I guess.
well, I in the video I did, I kind of implied that the FNAF 2 building would be like a renovated version of the building we saw in the first one. But it could also be that there's just a separate Freddy's that's still open that's in Nebraska, and that is where Garrett was taken when,
That would make sense then why he was even in Nebraska.
yeah.
Cause where is this restaurant?
Um, Minnesota. Um, some people have
It's
pointed
weird.
out some other states. Well, Minnesota and Oklahoma specifically, because in William's office early on in the movie, there's a map of Oklahoma City, but there's
Mm.
some license plates that have Minnesota markings on them. So I don't really know. Um,
Yeah,
Normally it takes place in Utah, so maybe it's actually in
yeah.
Utah. And then William's just from Oklahoma City, and there's
Mm-hmm.
just a lot of people from Wyoming in town.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
or
because you could be like, why? Like, you'd be like, why? Why would they reopen this place? Like, people are continuing to die, even though the restaurant has been closed.
hmm,
There's a weird rotting suit in the back. Um, like, this place, like, fell apart. There's, like, a horrible reputation, so it's like, I feel like the best way, I guess, the way that would make the most sense for it to reopen is if there is a business partner. Um, but like I don't know, I there's a lot of ways they could do it, and I hope they do one that like actually like makes sense and people aren't like super mad about it and being like, "Wow, this doesn't make any sense."
I think there is a way to make it because the series has always had undertones of like corporate greed and like how that perpetuates all this nonsense. But I was gonna say something. Um, my mind's going in and out today. Um, it could really just be as simple as like someone's like, "Oh, this made a lot of money back in the '80s. Enough time has passed since that murder shenanigans. Let's just open a new one."
Yeah.
And don't worry about that green rabbit in the back. We won't use it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just seal it off.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Well,
Uh,
I cuz if there's one thing that I think is that they're going to open the second movie with Mike talking to Vanessa in the hospital. And I feel like he's either going to talk about Garrett because I know that it's like he had a whole character arc. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to move on. I'm able to move on now." But I feel like he's going to be like, "It's been a while." And I'm kind of thinking like these other kids possess animatronics. What if Garrett is still out there? Or he's going to be like, "Vanessa, they're reopening the restaurant. This is pretty bad.
Nessa,
Like,
I
who's
need to.
doing this?
I need to spend 5 more nights at Freddy's.
Who?"
The, uh, uh, Also, in my video that I made, I said that I think the second movie is going to borrow from FNAF 2 primarily, but have like story beats of Sister Location. And
Mhm.
then the third one would take from 3 but have story beats of FNAF 6. People have pointed out to me the first movie has a lot of story beats of FNAF 4, of like
Yeah,
going into dreams.
yeah, I
And
1000% agree with that.
like also I've seen people point out that the things Mike says to Vanessa when she's on like the hospital bed at the end are very similar to what the crying child hears at the end of FNAF 4. Of like,
Yeah.
well, actually, I don't really remember, but
Well, literally, like, one of the first scenes has a book that says Dream Theory on it, and
that
I
was
was like,
funny.
"It's the Dream Theory."
That's funny. That just reminded me. I might revisit my FNAF 4 video one day because people have pointed out that I may or may not have been wrong about Dream Theory being the intended thing at the time. It could have been something else. I don't know. It's kind of inconclusive, but
I feel like that's what Scott was trying to push people toward, though. Like, when he was like, "Nobody figured it out," and then he was like giving these hints of being like, I don't know, he gave a lot of hints that made it seem like at the time that was what he wanted people to think.
Yeah, people have always like given me the implication though that at some point he said that no, Dream Theory wasn't it, but I haven't been able to find that.
Mm.
I don't know. People do that a lot where like Scott said this, and then he didn't actually say it. Like Scott said FNAF World isn't canon anymore. Didn't say that. He just said he didn't really like it. So,
Get MatPat on the phone.
ugh. Do you think MatPat's going to return in the sequel?
Well, actually, that was something I was gonna say. Is like we know Markiplier is gonna be in one of them, probably. Like they want him to be. It's just if he's able to. It's like they had a lot of cameos, and it's like, will they even be able to do that in the second and third? Will they have anyone left? And if so, what references and cameos would you like to see in FNAF 2 and 3?
One of the in the second one, I would love to see a purple suit with a human head. Because that was one of the hoaxes back in FNAF 2. It was, guys, I found purple
Yeah.
guy. And then it was just Golden Freddy, but purple with it. But, an idea
I
I
want to see
had.
Mangle.
Mangle?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They cannot make a movie without Mangle, but probably terribly difficult to puppeteer. Um,
Yes.
but, what I think they might do, and what they may have had planned, is the first movie has like all of the OGs as cameos. The second movie has like some newer people in there, like John FNaF, Rytoast, uh, I don't know, Hyperdroid. Um, I'd say
You.
ID's fantasy, but she doesn't show her face.
Mm,
Or they could do like she's on the radio for like 5 seconds. But
mm,
and then the third one, there'll there'll be one cameo, and that cameo is me, the main
yes.
character of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes.
It won't even be me. It won't be my voice. It will be a decrepit old Brent Snorf costume.
That would actually be sick. Like if they made a Bren Snorf.
Yeah,
Like that would be so. That would just look cool.
and well, let's not put the horse before the horse here, or the whatever. I do have to become notable first,
Yes.
but I think I figured out this YouTube thing.
Yes.
I and by that I mean I've learned that YouTube literally gives creators a page they can look at of like the terms that viewers adjacent to them will search for.
Mm,
Put those in the tags. Those tags bring more people. That's what I did for the last video, and it's the third best video on my channel with 40,000 views or something. But
well, I think they had like a casting call for the first movie for like some stuff. If they do that for the future movies, if they have like a casting call for extras and stuff, I'm so serious that like I would actually like submit something
yeah,
like I probably wouldn't get to do anything, but I'm like I would so do that.
I mean, you've done theater and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't. My voice barely
Yes.
works for voiceover. But yeah, no, I would say again, putting the carriage before the horse. If I do become a notable figure in the community, I would adore having a chance to appear in a movie. But if I'm being honest, they'd probably just have to put me on like a picture in the background because I don't think I have any semblance of acting skills. I'm very monotone as a person, both in voice and in drama. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be that one guy who ruined an entire scene and thus the entire movie crumbled.
Mm.
But, anyways, that's enough about me. Let's get back to FNAF movie. We've been. Oh, yeah. So we just about hit an hour.
Mhm.
So I guess we can go and do a couple final topics if we so
Okay.
choose.
Well, what references would you like to see?
I
Like
think
other than I guess the purple guy thing.
I think in FNAF 2 specifically, given like the toy animatronic vibe, that would be the perfect chance to put in Candy and Pop Goes as like extra seats in the back because both of
Oh
them have the
yeah.
toy vibe going out. They got the rosy cheeks and the shiny. I don't know. I'm not a
Yeah,
big fan.
that'd be pretty cool.
I'm not a big fan game person, but like
Mhm.
Candy and Pop Goes are some of the biggest names in the fan verse.
Mhm. See. Okay. I guess okay. One of the other topics, I guess we kind of already talked about this, but I think I feel like in the second movie and in the future, but probably the second movie mostly, I think that they will have Vanessa play a much bigger role. Because, like, in this one, she was just kind of used for exposition, and then only at the end were we kind of like actually getting her to be her own character. Although she was still kind of being used as like an accessory to Afton,
Hmm.
but you know, but I feel like in the second movie, I feel like a lot of it might revolve around her if they do kind of go with the sister location thing, because I feel like they could kind of implement some story from that involves her as
I
the daughter of Afton.
I honestly think it's possible when the second movie picks up, it's like right after Vanessa's gone out of the hospital and she's like still kind of recovering. Um, but yeah, I think I think they will make her a little bit more important. Um, I was going to say something else and now I forgot. Oh, um, I think choosing 2 and 3 as the settings for the next movie give the perfect setup to continue the balloon boy gag. Because in the
Yes.
first one, he's just a figure. And the second one, he's like a full animatronic. And in the third one, he's a ghost.
I love that that's how they included Balloon Boy because I don't think there's anybody who doesn't hate that guy. It's like when the second game came out, it was like, dude, this guy sucks.
Yeah. I remember, well, when I was watching it for the second time, it was with some friends who didn't see it yet. And the amount of genuine anger when Balloon Boy first showed up.
Yeah,
I love that everyone universally hates Balloon Boy. But
yeah.
I had an idea I wanted to mention, and I don't know how anyone feels about this. Um, but I do think it's possible that William doesn't come back as Springtrap until the third movie. In the second movie, the main villain is a new interpretation of Shadow Bonnie. Like the opening of the movie, you'll see like some black substance like dripping off of Afton's body, and then that will
Like
kind of
Venom?
like, and then what?
Like Venom?
But oh, well, I wasn't thinking that, but I don't know. It probably won't work like Venom, but it would be cool. I don't know. I think the more like because what I really loved about the movie is because it really felt we were back to being paranormal, like purely
Hmm.
paranormal. And I think having like some weird entity be the main villain for a movie would be so cool. Where like their interpretation is Shadow Bonnie is a creature that formed from William's agony, rotting away in the Springtrap suit. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't know. I think though that would be a way to put in death scenes that are cool but not graphic of like people getting pulled into this monstrosity and it like gets bigger every time. I don't know how well that would work though. Um, because they seem to be adamant about doing special effects. or
Mhm.
practical effects. And doing Shadow Bonnie would probably have to be like all special, since it's like not an animatronic, it's like a shadow. I don't know.
Yeah. I am very glad that they decided to do practical effects because well that's already like I love that, but also I think it works very well with what this movie is.
Yeah. I think doing this movie where the animatronics are like CGI or whatever would have been a huge, huge mistake.
Yeah.
And
Oh, the puppets are the costumes, they're so good.
I'm so
Like that
glad they got the Jim
costume.
Henson workshop to. They're so good. Like I was skeptical at first. I was like, "There's no way they could make the animatronics look like how they do in the games," and then they just kind of do.
Yeah, I want to meet them. Like it made it like the movie made me love these characters.
Well, if you get a plane ticket to Florida and go to Universal Studios, you might be able
Yes.
to catch them because they're on
Yes.
display right now. But unfortunately, that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Uh, I would love to see them one day. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I'm excited to see Mangle in the next one if
Mhm.
they, have Mangle. Um, but yeah, any other topics on your list or
I think we kind of hit everything at some point.
yeah? Well, yeah, it's not bad. Probably better. The last podcast didn't do super well, probably because its length was an hour and 30 minutes.
The
Which,
people who did watch it seemed to like it.
yeah,
So that's what counts.
and also whatever it is, I'm not gonna stop the series due to low popularity on the account that with kind of how I'm trying to pace myself now, it's either we do the podcast every other week or I just don't upload every other week. And it's better to do something than do nothing. And also, I
Yeah.
love blabbering about FNaF.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know that some people love the like long form FNAF content.
yeah.
So I'm as long as someone likes it, even if no one likes it, it's like whatever. This is your channel.
Yeah, it is my channel. I don't know, maybe you should start your channel on Five Nights at Candy's.
Oh
But,
yeah.
um, so for those who have A, watched this video and B, made it to the end, you get a little teaser of what I might be doing next, I think. And I'm probably going to, because I get Friday off this week. And I think I'm going to spend Friday. Um, I want to make like a proof of concept scene of something I want to see in the next movie. It'll be like a little animation. It won't be like good animation because I'm not an animator. Will it kind of be like a storyboard at least of like a scene I want to see? And it's kind of been going through my head, and that is a scene. So, so let me set this. So the scene starts from the camera point of view, the security camera point of view. It's looking at like the door to Kids Cove from FNAF 2, and you see a worker coming with like this big booklet, and then the camera like fizzles out, and then the scene cuts to them walking towards the parts of Mangle. They plop the book onto the floor. It's the instructions on how to put Mangle back together. Um, as they're like digging through the parts, the little radio thing that Mangle has starts going off, and when they go to investigate it, pretty much all the parts of Mangle start attacking this poor guy before like you see either I haven't decided yet whether it'd be like in shadows or like you just kind of see it happen from the guy's point of view of like Mangle assembling itself into the form that we actually know it for, and then breaking the guy's neck or something. I don't know. How do you think Mangle would kill someone? Because I've always imagined like breaking all of their limbs, but I don't know.
I kind of imagine it as like, well, because in the game, FNaF, in FNaF 2, Mangle swings down from the ceiling
Hmm.
and like bites your head, and I feel like it would be like an alligator, where because it has Mangle has big jaws, it would just clamp onto you, and I feel like since it has all these weird limbs and stuff, I feel like it would just kind of like go nuts, like a
Oh
crazy mechanical spider, just like that. Like I think it would be a very, I think it would be like Mangle's taking you apart now.
yeah,
Like I think it would be a very violent death. I think that's
I,
probably the last animatronic you'd want to kill you.
I've always liked the take that Mangle does to you what the kids did to it.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love a scene in the second movie where we kind of see because there's a scene in the Twilight Zone where um it's an episode where like a kid has powers where he can just like wish people into things. And like the big thing at the end is like he turns someone he doesn't like into a Jack in the Box with like their disembodied head. But like you only see it in shadows. So I love in the movie like you see a victim of Mangle, but like only cast in shadows, and they're like all like they're pretty much twisted up into a meat pretzel. Uh, but yeah. Anyways, that's what I might be doing next. I don't know. Maybe my ADHD will kill me and I won't be able to do anything, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, I think we're about done. Olivia, would you like to? I don't know. I didn't ask last time. Do you have a Twitter or anything you want people to follow?
I don't really, I haven't used it in a very long time, so
That's a good
probably
answer.
not.
Uh, Social media, I've learned, is bad for your brain. Um,
Yeah.
but, anyways, I guess we can say our goodbyes.
Yeah.
What an excellent podcast this was. Bye, everyone.
Hi, Snorfs.